Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm very excited to introduce my very good friend Turner Jumonville, who is an Emmy-winning cinematographer who, as of last week, I was able to coerce into becoming my cinematography mentor. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, of course.
Thanks for asking me to be your mentor too, by the way.
Yeah, man, no worries.
I'm stoked, you know?
I'm also very grateful. Sorry. I'm grateful. I was like, presenting to stage. So I haven't exactly figured out how the end of this video is going to work, whether we end up tagging this conversation on my first shot deck inspiration or this becomes its own video, but either way, today we're going to be talking about the There Will Be Blood shot that I shot in my backyard, and we'll be dissecting it and breaking it down and learning from it, finding out what worked, but mostly what didn't work.
That's open to interpretation, so you know.
Yes, it is open to interpretation, but just to reiterate, and I know I said it in the previous video or earlier in this video, again, it's not a direct replication, it's not a shot deck recreation. This is more about it being an interpretation of what the techniques are being used by the cinematographer to elicit feeling and basically creating a sort of lighting setup to put in your playbook, so to speak.
Right.
The
spirit of it. So
the spirit,
right?
yeah.
Without the exact tools that,
right,
that cinematographer had to shoot his film with. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Here we go. Let's see what's going on. This is the image that I shot, Turner, and this was shot by Robert Elswit.
Once again, you're not shooting with the same tools.
Right.
You don't have the same set. It's a whole different approach. But that being said, I mean, you kind of captured the right, idea of what you were going for. It's like a top light.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's not terribly hard, but it's like you can see the shadow. You can see a distinct shadow on his, his nose, right?
Yeah.
It's not really getting into his eyes too much. I mean, until he moves, that'll probably change.
Yeah. There is like that is the one thing that I feel like to me that's the biggest
that you missed.
The biggest error that I feel like I missed is that there is no eye light or eye catch, as I've heard it called, in my image.
You probably could have just moved either you further away, like an inch.
Yeah. Or
you move the light closer to the camera so that, because it just feels to me like this is more of into, you can see look at how, I mean, you guys have different shaped faces too and everything, take that into consideration. But, definitely the light's getting deeper into, his recesses of his eyes.
Yeah, I'm basically what I really have achieved here is Gordon Willis shooting The Godfather.
Yeah,
this is
down light, like Marlon Brando.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, so I should have, so you're saying I could have either pushed my body further away from the camera lens.
In this, yeah.
Or I could have...
You're not really... Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Or I could have pulled the fixture further away from my face, which would have basically created...
and more in front of you so that the light could get more into your eyes. There could be some bounce, to get, there could be a little bit of bounce, a little bit. I mean, I think the general idea, maybe, it feels like this, honestly, the intensity, I mean, your skin tone's different, but, it feels like the intensity of yours is a little hotter than that, in my opinion, maybe.
Yeah.
It might not necessarily, I mean, maybe it's a smaller source. You had a broad source, right? Like a 2L.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty, it's this big. So that's pretty big.
That sort of feels like just reverse engineering it. It feels like that's the biggest thing. For me, it feels like what I learned from this is to achieve this look is the source is, it's not the right source, right? It feels like the light mat is probably too broad. For example, it feels like even my brow is way darker, right? So
and look, his ears. There's more shadow. Your ears are getting the light that's coming from around the source, right?
Exactly. So even the eye light, it feels like. Well, also, so this is if it's Paul Thomas Anderson, this is shot on film, right?
Sure. In what
2008? I think 2008. Yeah, 2008 or 9, right?
Yeah, it's definitely film.
So they're shooting it on film. So that, you know, it does feel like my stuff is hotter closer to the fixture because it feels like their fixture is probably further away in a harder light. Like you can even tell under his nose shadow is like, his nose shadow is crispier than mine.
Light, a little bit harder that they've diffused. You know, whereas you're using like a softer light that's bigger that's already diffused too. But I mean, you know, it's close. You're, you know, and like if you were operating this and you weren't the subject, like you might even say, hey, can you just like slide back? There you go. Like, you know, it's like just a couple of millimeters or a centimeter or something. And it's like, oh, just tilt your chin up a little bit more. Or, oh, maybe, you know, I need to, you know, maybe if the camera was raised a little bit more and you're tilting your head up a touch. I don't know. You know, like that could force you to look up a bit more. I don't know, you know.
So I'm curious, the other really big thing that feels different is because of access to resources and stuff like that, is like, so I actually shot this on a full frame FX6, right, with the SLR Magic 75mm prime, and like I shot that because I was actually selling them to Seth the next day, and they were just I just wanted to see I just wanted to remind myself what I was getting rid of. Meanwhile, looking at it, besides the eye light, the shape or the style of the fixture, the biggest difference to me is the focal length. This is clearly, so first of all, it's the aspect ratio is 2:3:9. So this is they're probably shooting this anamorphic.
Yeah, it's probably 100mm.
Right, at least, right? This is 75, right? Yeah. So they're probably, it feels like I could have shot this on, like I have a Nikkor 105.
Yeah. You could have. You probably would have gotten more fall off in the back, you know, like more of a abstract, sort of less lamp, more just, you know, bokeh, right?
Yeah. I also stopped
and it
down.
Compressed, you know, it would have compressed the stuff too. Like it would have made that feel more forward, like, you know. Because that feels like, you know, I mean, even though it's far away, it definitely feels like it's
close.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. It also feels like just, not only but shape and framing, it just feels like his face is wider, and that always makes me feel like it's about compression because it like flattens the face out. When you're wider, it's like dimensioned. When you're longer, it like smushes everything. So it feels like I got the lens the focal length wrong too.
I mean, not wrong, you know. It's just
different. Yeah, he's very kind. But I would argue that there is a reason why they probably shot it on such a long lens, or for me, feeling long, is because this scene takes place at a table, right? Where Daniel Day-Lewis is, if I remember correctly, and I haven't watched this movie in a couple of years, but
this is like the beginning of the film.
I think this is where he's trying to be like, I need to buy your land.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy's like not impressed.
And he's got like a family of kids and stuff.
Right, exactly. There's a bunch of people around a table, and I think maybe part of your bounce possibility is they could be shooting the table.
Yeah. Right, whatever was
or hitting the table with a fixture, you know, like old, like what's it, Richardson. Yeah, he frequently does that.
Yeah,
right?
like straight down and it just balloons up. Like
yeah. So those are the big takeaways for me. Is that it's actually like, well, first of all, it feels like there's more because I was shooting it in my backyard and there's no space, there's no walls for light to bounce off of. There's no ambience in the room.
Honestly, there's probably a softbox that they built like above the table. You know, like if it was a conversation. Now they're thinking about thinking about the larger scene and not just this scene. Like, you know, if you were just lighting this scene, that'd be a different story. But if you're lighting the overall scene, you're probably lighting the space too. So it's probably a bigger source like than we think. It's probably like a soft light over a table. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm curious now.
Yeah,
I have to go do some research, but. And then, I bet there's bounce, you know.
It's so interesting, though. It seems so hard under his nose, even for, like, a large-shaped softbox over a table.
But I feel like it's just where it's, like, I feel like it's, I don't know. But look, the shadow, like, on his eyes, it's not like it's, like, a harsh shadow.
No. It is,
the nose is a little bit, like, that's probably the sharpest part of his face, right?
Yeah.
Like shape-wise, but... You know, like, yes, I definitely... But, you know, like, soft light, you know, can, like, produce, like, shadows, depending on how close, you know, like... Not necessarily, you know, no shadow. Like, right. It would still be a shadow that's, like, relatively defined.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely... I mean, I don't know. It definitely doesn't feel like a hard, like a Leica or like a Fresnel light that's just raw with nothing on it. You know, like it's not that. I don't think. I mean, it definitely feels like if we watch the scene, you know, we saw the overall like scene.
Yeah.
I bet even on Shot Deck, I bet there's some wide shots of that scene that might, you know, give you a bit more of like a clue as to like the overall sort of, you know, ambience of the space. And
this looks like scene? It, right? This is the same scene.
Okay. Yeah, so, okay, look, you got a white tablecloth. That's pretty hard light, man, on his face.
Yeah, dude, that's right on
shot.
his face.
You know, like, and it's like the whole space, everyone would probably, I mean, and they're moving and, you know, like, that's a light that's going to accommodate people acting. Like, that they're lighting the space there so that these people can act. And then you cut to that, you know, close-up, and it definitely feels like, you know, compared to this, it definitely feels like a little sort of like they've sweetened it up a little bit for that.
Yeah, of course. You know? Yeah.
Look at how hard that light is and like the quality. You know, like it definitely feels like it's more even in that close up. Almost as if they brought like, you know, I mean, who knows, like muzz or something, because it kind of feels warmer than that too. You know, like.
Well, actually, let's talk about this shot for a second. I know we're sort of going off script here, but...
Well, contextually, you know, just to give you a sense of where we are in space, right?
Yeah. So one thing that I'm actually really curious about is maybe we can do some theoretical reverse engineering about what this setup might be. It looks to me like there is a hard source that's hitting our old timer over here, right? But then there's like
he's bald, so it's like, you know, like it doesn't matter how soft the source is. Like if like it's gonna just be problematic on a bald head, like like that might not be, you know, that could just be like the way his head is reflecting
shaped,
off of like, you know, the top light, you know, like that's above them.
Yeah, but I guess the question though here is that it doesn't look like it's harder on him than it is on Daniel Day-Lewis right here. Like this looks like he's getting hit with
like
a specific,
a special or something,
right?
You know? Yeah, like it definitely feels like could be something on him, or you know maybe it's just
and then
or
it
could just
like,
be his luminati, like you know he's just got like a bald head,
right?
Like you know it feels harder the way that it's hitting him, but you know.
And then doesn't it feel like maybe there's some sort of soft thing above the table, like a china ball or something like that? Because Daniel Day-Lewis is downstage dark, right? This kid is fully illuminated front facing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that means the light's like between them.
Right, and then Paul Dano has his own downstage dark side, right? Basically, like...
So the light's like basically in the shadows of the cups. It's right above them.
Right.
You know?
So it's right above the kid, basically.
Or above him and Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, you know, and his head's just tilted down, so it's like blocking the light. You know, as you can see, the shadows going that way and that way. So it's like in that space. It's between them. You know, realistically, they probably put it in the middle for, you know, like to light everyone evenly, right?
Right.
And since it's like not, and it's over there, it's not on this side of the table.
Right.
You know, that's why we're getting
the
fall off, you know? But once again, like, I mean, I'm sure there's, you know, there's got to be some resources out there that can tell you exactly what this, you know, what they use, or there's got to be an interview somewhere where they talked about this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
I'm curious. Like, I might have to go search it out now. Such a great resource, man.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, Larry Scher, for creating this.
It's so cool.
In fact, I'm always repping it.
By the way, is it time to put a word of for our sponsors in?
Yeah, today we'd like to put in a word for our sponsors. Use our promo code totally unsponsored at checkout for Shot Deck, and and let them know that Nate and Turner sent you. Call up Larry, tell him that he should support our channel.
So I would say if we're gonna like, yes, I know that they're not the same. You know, they're not. You don't have the same tools. You know, like you don't have the same like set, right? I get that, and I'm fine with that. What I would say is maybe you were a little bit too far away from your background. Like you might have been able to include your background a bit more if we're trying to emulate this, right?
Yeah.
And clearly, like you know, like he feels like that background's like a little bit closer than yours. Just even if it was like something on the ground to illuminate it, so it wasn't pitch black back there. That would be my only like if I were going to critique it from like additionally, you know, like I know that you don't have the set. I know that you not have the right props, you know, that I understand all that. I'm just saying if we're going to try to, you know, whatever. I know you're not trying to do it exactly right or the same. I know we're not in that space. We're not holding ourselves to that same sort of like rigor, but
compositionally, you're saying depth will be, because right now I'm just in a black void.
Just dark. Yeah, I would probably, you know, you could have even hung up like a sheet or a towel back there and like you know lit it barely and like it would have, you know, given you something that would have felt like maybe a like a, what am I trying to say here? What would that be? A sheer over a window or something, or
Right.
Just maybe include the background a little bit more, because I know it's your fence, and you're
Yes.
probably trying to avoid showing that it's your fence because you're shooting it outside, which is cool, by the way. But that being said, like you can illuminate a little bit, perhaps. I don't know. Actually, I remember shooting something in college, and like it was like someone against like a dark, and it was like I'll never forget it in my life, and like something about it I just never could, when I was doing it at that point in time, I could never figure out, like I couldn't figure out what like bugged me about it. I remember my instructor said like, oh man, you should have put something back there to help like separate, the separation from the background, the foreground. Right. And I was like, it's kind of always been with me, that sort of, even if it's just like something, on the floor that you're just like kind of a kick light that you just put on the ground, just something. So it's not like, I mean, and that's not for everything. I mean, sometimes it's supposed to be super dark and a void, but, in this case, I know we don't have the same set and everything, but, I would probably have maybe illuminated the background a fraction more than you have here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
That's all.
And the thing is, like, I did try to put it against the fence because I was like, well, this is wood that I have access to.
Yeah. You could have just illuminated it. It feels like the lamp's too far away from the wall.
Yeah.
Like if the lamp was closer to the wall and you could have seen it a bit more, even if it would just give you like the idea that there was a wall there. Like, I think that would help sell it a bit more. And if it was further away or closer to the wall in this case, or a fence in this case, you'd probably get a little bit more bokeh out of it, just since there's more separation between you and the lamp. Yeah. I mean, not that it's like the most awesome looking bokeh that you're ever going to get out of a lamp, but like, it's certainly not something, just an abstract shape.
Yeah. It's interesting is because of, me shooting myself, I also stopped down to like a 5, 6, 8 split maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like,
well, I mean, you can't hold yourself to like, you're doing this by yourself.
Yeah.
You're framing it up, you're trying to focus it. Like, it's like, okay, you want to shoot it like a stop that, is going to be it's not going to work for you if you, are doing it yourself probably.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I get it, I'll help you sometime if you can be in front of the camera and I'll be behind it.
Yeah, okay, that'd be sick. That'd be super dope.
Just focus it and frame it up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And then, the only other thing is, since we now know that this wide shot has a table that has, like, I probably would have put, like, a bit of bounce here.
Yeah, word. Totally.
And it probably would have helped your eyes
a
wee bit, just to send a bit more return into, like, your eyes. But I'm still convinced that it still feels like a big softbox to me. I don't think it's terribly hard necessarily. Like,
so then, what do you think this eye light is? You think that the eye light is the very edge of the softbox at the end of the table? It's not a specialty
the
light.
Shape of his face, honestly, the way his face caught the light.
Okay.
Maybe they pushed him away. Like maybe they pushed him back. When they shot the close up.
Right.
To where it's like, oh man, if we could push you back 6 inches, I could get a glimmer of the light in your eye. Whereas, like, in our initial, I mean, clearly in that wide shot, you could see that he was getting lit. His eye was getting lit. So,
Yeah.
But, no, man, I think that's cool. I think this is great. This is a great sort of task and sort of little challenge for you to undertake. And, I'm happy to sort of, like, lend a hand or, some insight or, like, this is just, my interpretation of it, like.
Since we're here, we're sort of wrapped up as far as the There Will Be Blood shot. This is my other shot deck that I've built just for inspiration shots. And just so that I actually make a plan and sort of put a little bit of pressure on myself, I think maybe we should go through here and just choose one that can be my next shot.
Like, is there one that you're like, I kind of want to do this one next? Like,
I mean, honestly, the Batman shot seems really interesting to me because to me that feels like I could probably do that with 2 Amaran 4-foot tubes behind me, and she has level. Like, you can look at here, there is a light in front of her. Because, like, look at the tip of her nose.
Yeah.
And it's cool. And that feels like I could boom this panel light just above my head with, like, a sort of
just
soft...
Like, keep it, like... she's definitely dark down here, right? Like, if you're trying to just, like, illuminate just a little bit, like, you just, like, turn the light on a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be like 1%. Yeah, exactly, right? But that's what it feels like. It just feels like... Either they're harder lights. Yeah. Either I'm taking like the small Amaran 60, or I have a couple.
Some tubes would be great. Like Infinibars would be wonderful. Like, because they're vertical and they're long, so it's like you get the entire source, and it just kind of continues. Like it kind of sends like that long beam of light out like that.
Well, I don't have Infinibars. Sorry, Turner, but I do have 2 Amaran tubes.
Use 2 of those.
Yeah. So I think this is what. All right, it's done. I'm choosing the shot of Zoe Kravitz in the Batman.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, dope. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this. That was about 25 minutes, I think. So we might just release this as a specialty episode, just talking about that there will be Bloodshot. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this.
Me.
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is
all
fun.
right, long may
Good
it
luck.
continue. Thank you. All right, cheers.